Question 1. A Scrum Master notices that the development team frequently struggles with unclear product backlog items, leading to significant rework during sprints. The product owner, while dedicated, appears overwhelmed with stakeholder demands. What is the most effective approach for the Scrum Master to address this situation? A. Take over the refinement of product backlog items for a sprint to demonstrate effective practices to the product owner. B. Facilitate a workshop with the product owner and key stakeholders to clarify the definition of done and acceptance criteria. C. Coach the product owner on various product backlog management techniques, including effective stakeholder collaboration and refinement. D. Mandate the development team to only select product backlog items that meet a predefined level of readiness before sprint planning. Answer: C. Coach the product owner on various product backlog management techniques, including effective stakeholder collaboration and refinement. The most effective approach for a Scrum Master in this scenario is to coach the product owner, as the core issue lies in product backlog management and stakeholder collaboration. A Scrum Master's role is to serve the product owner by helping them find techniques for effective product backlog management, which includes clear refinement and engaging stakeholders. This builds the product owner's capabilities, fostering long-term improvement rather than providing a temporary fix or imposing rules. For instance, the Scrum Master might introduce techniques like user story mapping or impact mapping to help the product owner manage complexity. Remember, coaching empowers individuals to find their own solutions and grow. Question 2. The development team consistently fails to meet their sprint goals, primarily due to unforeseen technical challenges arising mid-sprint. During retrospectives, the team discusses these issues but struggles to identify concrete actions for improvement. How should the Scrum Master best intervene? A. Facilitate a technical debt workshop with the team to identify and prioritize items for the product backlog. B. Introduce techniques for more effective risk identification and mitigation during sprint planning. C. Encourage the team to collaborate with external technical experts to overcome complex challenges. D. Coach the development team on self-organizing to improve their technical practices and engineering standards. Answer: D. Coach the development team on self-organizing to improve their technical practices and engineering standards. When the development team consistently faces unforeseen technical challenges and struggles to improve, the Scrum Master should coach them on enhancing their technical practices and engineering standards. This approach reinforces the Scrum principle of self-organization, empowering the team to find sustainable solutions to their technical debt and quality issues. The Scrum Master helps the team recognize the importance of practices like pair programming, test-driven development, or continuous integration, which prevents such surprises. For example, the Scrum Master might suggest a coding dojo session to practice new techniques. Your goal as a Scrum Master is to foster a culture of continuous improvement within the team's technical capabilities. Question 3. A Scrum Master is working with a new development team that is hesitant to directly address performance issues within the team, fearing conflict. As a result, certain team members are consistently underperforming, impacting sprint goals. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? A. Arrange one-on-one meetings with the underperforming team members to understand their challenges and offer solutions. B. Facilitate a conflict resolution workshop for the team and encourage them to establish explicit working agreements on accountability. C. Escalate the performance concerns to the functional managers, providing specific examples of underperformance. D. Introduce a peer feedback system to the team, making feedback a formal and regular part of their process. Answer: B. Facilitate a conflict resolution workshop for the team and encourage them to establish explicit working agreements on accountability. The most appropriate action for the Scrum Master is to facilitate a conflict resolution workshop and guide the team to establish working agreements on accountability. This approach addresses the root cause, the team's discomfort with conflict and their inability to self-manage performance issues directly. The Scrum Master serves the team by coaching them to improve their interpersonal communication and self-organization skills, rather than stepping in as a manager or escalating prematurely. For instance, the team might agree on a definition of done for peer feedback or a process for raising concerns respectfully. Helping the team build internal mechanisms for self-correction is crucial for their long-term health and autonomy. Question 4. The product owner is frequently absent from refinement sessions and sprint reviews due to commitments to other projects, leading to a lack of clarity and feedback for the development team. The development team has raised this concern multiple times in retrospectives. What is the best course of action for the Scrum Master? A. Offer to take on some of the product owner's responsibilities for a short period to ease their workload. B. Coach the product owner on the importance of their presence and the impact of their absence on the Scrum team's effectiveness. C. Escalate the product owner's lack of engagement to their functional manager, explaining the negative impact on the project. D. Propose that the development team proceed with their best interpretation of requirements, documenting assumptions for later review. Answer. B. Coach the product owner on the importance of their presence and the impact of their absence on the Scrum team's effectiveness. The most effective course of action for the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner on the critical importance of their engagement and its direct impact on the Scrum team's performance. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them understand and practice Scrum, including their accountability for maximizing product value. This coaching approach aims to empower the product owner to prioritize their time and responsibilities effectively, rather than resorting to escalation or taking on their responsibilities. For example, the Scrum Master might help the product owner visualize the negative flow of unclarified work and delayed feedback on a Kanban board. Your role is to help the individual grow in their Scrum accountabilities. Question 5. A Scrum Master notices that the organization's current performance review system for individual contributors heavily emphasizes individual output and adherence to predefined tasks, rather than team collaboration and empirical results. This is actively undermining the Scrum team's ability to self-organize and deliver collectively. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Advise the Scrum team to focus on individual metrics in their performance reviews to avoid negative consequences. B. Bring the misalignment of the performance review system to the attention of human resources and relevant management, demonstrating its impact. C. Coach the Scrum team on how to game the existing performance review system to still appear productive while maintaining Scrum values. D. Facilitate a discussion with the development team to adjust their interpretation of done to include individual contributions for performance reviews. Answer. B. Bring the misalignment of the performance review system to the attention of human resources and relevant management, demonstrating its impact. When an organizational system, like performance reviews, actively undermines Scrum principles, the Scrum Master's role extends to addressing this organizational impediment. Bringing the misalignment to the attention of human resources and management, supported by evidence of its negative impact on team collaboration and empirical delivery, is crucial. This proactive stance helps the organization understand the conflict between traditional metrics and agile values, fostering systemic change. For instance, the Scrum Master might present data showing how individual incentives lead to less collaboration and slower feature delivery. Remember, advocating for a healthy Scrum environment often means challenging established organizational norms. Question 6. During a sprint, a key stakeholder approaches a development team member directly with an urgent request for a new feature, bypassing the product owner and the product backlog. The development team member, wanting to be helpful, begins working on it. How should the Scrum Master address this situation? A. Remind the development team member about the importance of the product owner and the product backlog as the sole source of work. B. Facilitate a conversation between the stakeholder, product owner, and development team to properly prioritize the request. C. Coach the stakeholder on the Scrum framework, specifically the role of the product owner and the product backlog. D. Observe the situation for a few days to see if the development team self-organizes to address the issue on their own. Answer. C. coach the stakeholder on the Scrum framework, specifically the role of the product owner and the product backlog. The most effective action for the Scrum Master is to coach the stakeholder directly on the Scrum framework, particularly the role of the product owner and the product backlog. This addresses the root cause of the issue by educating the person who initiated the bypassing behavior, preventing recurrence. While informing the development team member is good, educating the stakeholder directly reinforces the rules of engagement and the importance of a single source of truth for work. For example, the Scrum Master might explain how direct requests disrupt the sprint goal and the product owner's ability to maximize value. Help your stakeholders understand the why behind Scrum's rules to foster better collaboration. Question 7. The development team expresses frustration that they are consistently pulled into urgent, unplanned work from various internal departments, severely impacting their ability to focus on the sprint goal. This urgent work often comes from management outside the Scrum team. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? A. Work with the product owner to incorporate a buffer for unplanned work into sprint planning to manage expectations. B. Coach the development team on how to politely decline unplanned requests and direct stakeholders to the product owner. C. Facilitate a discussion with the management responsible for the unplanned work to highlight its impact on value delivery and predictability. D. Suggest the development team increase their sprint duration to better accommodate both planned and unplanned work. Answer. C. Facilitate a discussion with the management responsible for the unplanned work to highlight its impact on value delivery and predictability. The most appropriate action for the Scrum Master is to address the organizational impediment directly by facilitating a discussion with the management responsible for the unplanned work. This systemic issue undermines the Scrum team's ability to focus and deliver value, and it requires management-level intervention to resolve. The Scrum Master's role extends to removing organizational impediments that hinder the team's progress, not just coaching the team to manage symptoms. For example, the Scrum Master might present data showing how context switching reduces throughput and increases lead time. Remember to tackle organizational challenges at their source, providing concrete evidence of the impact. Question 8. During a sprint review, stakeholders consistently dominate the discussion, focusing on new ideas and future features rather than providing concrete feedback on the increment presented. This leaves the development team feeling unheard and unsure about the value of their work. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Encourage the development team to present their work more compellingly to capture stakeholder attention. B. Coach the product owner to facilitate the sprint review more effectively, steering discussions towards feedback on the increment. C. Limit stakeholder attendance at the sprint review to only those directly impacted by the current increment. D. Introduce a formal feedback form for stakeholders to complete during or after the sprint review. Answer. B. Coach the product owner to facilitate the sprint review more effectively, steering discussions towards feedback on the increment. The most effective action is for the Scrum Master to coach the product owner on facilitating the sprint review more effectively, guiding discussions towards concrete feedback on the increment. The product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product, and a successful sprint review involves gathering critical feedback to inform future development. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them understand and practice effective stakeholder engagement and event facilitation. For example, the Scrum Master might suggest a clear agenda, time-boxing topics, or asking specific questions about the increment presented. Help the product owner master their role in ensuring the sprint review achieves its purpose. Question 9. The development team has grown significantly in size over the past year, and the Scrum Master observes a decline in communication efficiency and an increase in internal team conflicts. The team often struggles to agree on technical approaches and task assignments. What is the most advanced technique for the Scrum Master to apply in this situation? A. Suggest splitting the large development team into multiple smaller Scrum teams, each with a clear product area. B. Implement a formal communication plan within the team, defining channels and cadences for various discussions. C. Facilitate a deep dive retrospective focused on team dynamics and help the team establish new norms and working agreements. D. Coach individual team members on active listening and conflict resolution techniques to improve interpersonal skills. Answer: C. Facilitate a deep dive retrospective focused on team dynamics and help the team establish new norms and working agreements. In this situation, the most advanced technique is to facilitate a deep dive retrospective focused on team dynamics, guiding the team to establish new norms and working agreements. While splitting the team might be a future consideration, the immediate need is to address the communication and conflict issues within the current team structure by helping them self-organize. The Scrum Master serves the team by fostering an environment where they can openly discuss their challenges and collectively agree on how to improve their internal collaboration and decision-making. For example, the team might agree on a decision-making model or a process for resolving technical disagreements. Empower the team to resolve its own internal challenges, building their resilience and self-management capabilities. Question 10. The product owner frequently changes the order of items at the top of the product backlog during a sprint, sometimes introducing completely new, high-priority items. This causes the development team to often abandon planned work and miss sprint goals. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Explain to the product owner that product backlog changes during a sprint are only permissible if the sprint goal is unaffected. B. Coach the product owner on the importance of sprint goal commitment and the impact of mid-sprint changes on team stability and predictability. C. Facilitate a meeting between the product owner and the development team to renegotiate the sprint scope every time a change occurs. D. Suggest that the development team always overcommit slightly in sprint planning to have a buffer for potential changes. Answer: B. Coach the product owner on the importance of sprint goal commitment and the impact of mid-sprint changes on team stability and predictability. The most effective action for the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner on the importance of the sprint goal commitment and the negative impact of frequent mid-sprint changes. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them understand and adhere to Scrum principles, particularly the stability provided by a committed sprint goal. This coaching helps the product owner recognize that constant shifts undermine the development team's focus and the predictability of delivery. For example, the Scrum Master might illustrate how frequent changes lead to context-switching costs and delayed feature delivery. Help the product owner mature in their understanding of how Scrum fosters agility through focused sprints. Question 11. An organization is planning to scale Scrum across multiple teams working on a single, large product. Management asks the Scrum Master to help design a new reporting structure that consolidates individual team metrics to provide a single view of progress to senior leadership. What advice should the Scrum Master provide? A. Recommend focusing on consolidated individual velocity metrics to compare team performance and identify bottlenecks. B. Advise against individual team comparisons and instead suggest focusing on integrated product-level metrics like time to market and overall value delivery. C. Propose a system where each Scrum team reports their sprint goal achievement and planned versus actual progress to a central project management office. D. Suggest implementing a scaled Agile framework's prescribed reporting structure directly, without modifications. Answer: B. Advise against individual team comparisons and instead suggest focusing on integrated product-level metrics like time to market and overall value delivery. When scaling Scrum, the Scrum Master should advise against individual team comparisons and instead advocate for focusing on integrated, product-level metrics that reflect overall value delivery. Comparing individual team velocities can create unhealthy competition and undermine collaboration, which is counterproductive in a scaled environment. The Scrum Master's role involves coaching the organization to embrace transparency and inspection at the product level, emphasizing outcomes over individual team output. For example, focusing on a burn-up chart for the overall product backlog or customer satisfaction across all features provides a more valuable view for senior leadership. Remember, in scaled environments, collective progress towards a shared product vision is paramount. Question 12. The development team constantly works beyond normal hours to complete sprint goals, leading to burnout and a decline in code quality. They are unwilling to admit they are overcommitting during sprint planning, fearing perceived failure. What is the most impactful action for the Scrum Master? A. Introduce stricter timeboxing for sprint planning to force more realistic forecasting. B. Facilitate a discussion in the retrospective about sustainable pace and the long-term effects of burnout and technical debt. C. Work with the product owner to reduce the scope of sprint backlog items before sprint planning. D. Coach individual team members privately about the importance of work-life balance and their right to decline overtime. Answer: B. Facilitate a discussion in the retrospective about sustainable pace and the long-term effects of burnout and technical debt. The most impactful action for the Scrum Master is to facilitate a deep discussion in the retrospective about sustainable pace, linking it directly to the long-term effects of burnout and technical debt. This approach addresses the underlying cultural issue of overcommitment and fear of failure by bringing it into the team's shared awareness and encouraging self-reflection. The Scrum Master serves the team by creating a safe space for them to inspect their behavior and adapt their approach to sprint planning and execution. For example, the team might decide to experiment with reducing their planned workload by 10% for the next sprint. Empowering the team to own their sustainable pace is key to their long-term health and productivity. Question 13. A key stakeholder often challenges the development team's technical decisions during the sprint review, proposing alternative solutions that would require significant rework. This creates tension and discourages the team from presenting openly. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? A. Defend the development team's technical decisions during the sprint review to protect their morale. B. Coach the product owner to manage stakeholder expectations regarding technical implementation details and their feedback scope. C. Facilitate a separate technical review meeting with the stakeholder and key development team members outside the sprint review. D. Encourage the development team to explain their technical rationale more thoroughly during the sprint review. Answer: B. Coach the product owner to manage stakeholder expectations regarding technical implementation details and their feedback scope. The most appropriate action is to coach the product owner to manage stakeholder expectations regarding technical implementation details and the scope of feedback during the sprint review. The product owner is accountable for engaging stakeholders, and it is their responsibility to guide stakeholders to provide feedback focused on the increment's value and usability, not its internal technical architecture. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them strengthen their ability to facilitate productive conversations and protect the development team's autonomy on how to build the increment. For example, the Scrum Master might suggest the product owner clearly state the purpose of the review at the start, inviting feedback only on user experience and functionality. Help the product owner clarify roles and responsibilities to maintain a constructive environment. Question 14. The development team, though self-organizing, seems overly dependent on the Scrum Master for conflict resolution and decision-making, even for minor issues. This slows down their progress and inhibits their growth. How should the Scrum Master address this dependency? A. Take a step back and allow the team to struggle through conflicts, only intervening if they reach an impasse. B. Facilitate structured decision-making techniques within the team, such as consent-based decision-making. C. Coach the team on the principles of self-management and provide resources for conflict resolution skills. D. Assign a rotating, team lead accountability within the development team to delegate decision-making. Answer: C. Coach the team on the principles of self-management and provide resources for conflict resolution skills. To address the team's overdependence, the Scrum Master should coach the team on the principles of self-management and provide resources for conflict resolution skills. This approach directly tackles the root cause by empowering the team to develop its internal capabilities for problem-solving and decision-making, rather than relying on an external authority. The Scrum Master serves the team by acting as a coach and mentor, fostering their autonomy and maturity, which is central to Scrum's intent. For example, the Scrum Master might introduce them to nonviolent communication techniques or a basic decision-making matrix. Your goal is to make yourself redundant in direct decision-making, enabling the team to truly self-organize. Question 15. The organization's traditional change management process requires extensive documentation and approval gates for any significant technical or process change. This bureaucratic overhead is severely hindering the Scrum team's ability to adapt quickly and implement improvements identified in retrospectives. What is the best approach for the Scrum Master? A. Advise the development team to bypass the formal change process for smaller, less risky changes. B. Coach the Scrum team on how to navigate the existing change process more efficiently. C. Collaborate with process owners and management to challenge and streamline the change management process, demonstrating its impact on agility. D. Introduce a Scrum of Scrums meeting to coordinate changes across multiple teams, ensuring they adhere to the formal process. Answer: C. Collaborate with process owners and management to challenge and streamline the change management process, demonstrating its impact on agility. The best approach for the Scrum Master is to collaborate with process owners and management to challenge and streamline the organizational change management process. This situation represents a significant organizational impediment that hinders the Scrum team's agility and continuous improvement. The Scrum Master's role extends beyond the team to the organization, actively working to remove systemic obstacles by demonstrating the negative impact of rigid processes. For example, the Scrum Master might present data showing how long it takes to implement a simple improvement due to the current process, contrasting it with the desired agility. Your responsibility includes being a change agent for the entire organization. Question 16. A development team struggles to maintain a steady pace, often having hero sprints followed by periods of exhaustion and lower output. This inconsistency makes forecasting difficult for the product owner and stakeholders. What is the most important area for the Scrum Master to focus on with the team? A. Improving their technical skills to reduce the effort required for tasks. B. Refining their definition of done to ensure quality is consistently met. C. Coaching them on the importance of a sustainable pace and effective sprint planning. D. Introducing advanced estimation techniques to improve their forecasting accuracy. Answer: C. Coaching them on the importance of a sustainable pace and effective sprint planning. When a development team experiences inconsistent pace, characterized by hero sprints and subsequent dips, the most important area for the Scrum Master to focus on is coaching them on sustainable pace and effective sprint planning. This addresses the root cause of their erratic performance by helping them understand the long-term benefits of consistent effort and realistic commitment. The Scrum Master guides the team to inspect their past sprints and adapt their approach to workload management, ensuring that quality and team well-being are prioritized. For example, the Scrum Master might encourage timeboxing during planning to prevent overcommitment. Emphasize that a sustainable pace leads to higher quality and more predictable delivery over time. Question 17. The product owner consistently adds more items to the sprint backlog than the development team can realistically complete, despite the team's warnings during sprint planning. This leads to frequent incomplete sprints and demotivation. What is the most impactful action for the Scrum Master? A. Reiterate to the development team that they are solely responsible for managing the sprint backlog during the sprint. B. Coach the product owner on respecting the development team's capacity and forecasts for the sprint. C. Facilitate a discussion between the product owner and development team to define clear boundaries for sprint scope. D. Suggest that the development team push back more strongly during sprint planning if they feel overwhelmed. Answer: B. Coach the product owner on respecting the development team's capacity and forecasts for the sprint. The most impactful action for the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner on respecting the development team's capacity and their forecast for the sprint. The Scrum Guide emphasizes that the development team is solely responsible for determining how much work they can accomplish in a sprint, and the product owner must respect this. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them understand the critical importance of fostering trust and empowering the development team's self-organization. For example, the Scrum Master might visually demonstrate the historical trend of unfinished work when the product owner overrides the team's forecast. Help your product owner understand that true agility comes from respecting the team's boundaries and capabilities. Question 18. An organization has multiple Scrum teams working on different, but interdependent, components of a larger system. The Scrum Master observes that coordination meetings between these teams are often inefficient, with little clear output or agreed-upon next steps. What is the most effective way for the Scrum Master to improve inter-team coordination? A. Encourage each development team to assign a representative to a centralized, integration team responsible for all cross-team dependencies. B. Coach the individual Scrum teams on improving their dependency identification and communication strategies during sprint planning. C. Introduce the Nexus Framework's concept of the Nexus Daily Scrum to focus on integration issues and shared impediments. D. Facilitate a workshop with all Scrum Masters involved to collectively design a standardized communication protocol for inter-team dependencies. Answer: C. Introduce the Nexus Framework's concept of the Nexus Daily Scrum to focus on integration issues and shared impediments. When multiple interdependent Scrum teams struggle with inefficient coordination, introducing the Nexus Framework's concept of the Nexus Daily Scrum is highly effective. Nexus provides a structured approach for scaling Scrum, with the Nexus Daily Scrum specifically designed to address integration issues and shared impediments across multiple teams working on a single product backlog. This focuses coordination efforts on what truly matters for integrated delivery, making meetings more productive. For example, representatives from each team meet daily to identify and resolve cross-team dependencies and integration issues. Consider using established scaling frameworks to bring structure to complex multi-team environments. Question 19. The development team consistently finishes their sprints with items that are almost done, but don't meet the definition of done. This leads to a growing amount of unfinished work and delays in releasing value. The team rationalizes this by stating they are doing their best. What should the Scrum Master do first? A. Facilitate a retrospective focused on the definition of done and help the team commit to meeting it for every item. B. Coach the product owner to only accept items that fully meet the definition of done, regardless of the team's rationale. C. Advocate for increasing the sprint duration to give the development team more time to complete items. D. Recommend bringing in external technical coaches to improve the team's velocity and quality. Answer: A. Facilitate a retrospective focused on the definition of done and help the team commit to meeting it for every item. When a development team consistently finishes sprints with almost done work, the Scrum Master should first facilitate a retrospective specifically focused on the definition of done. This foundational conversation helps the team self-inspect their process and adapt to ensure all work truly meets their agreed-upon quality standard, which is crucial for transparency and empiricism. The Scrum Master serves the team by creating a safe environment to confront this reality and collaboratively commit to addressing the underlying issues, such as unrealistic sprint planning or technical debt. For instance, the team might identify specific technical practices to embed into their workflow to ensure completion. Always bring transparency to what done truly means to foster team accountability. Question 20. Senior management expresses concern that the Scrum teams are too inwardly focused and don't adequately report their progress to external stakeholders outside of the sprint review. They propose introducing a weekly status report template for each team. What is the best advice the Scrum Master should give to management? A. Suggest that the product owner is the primary point of contact for external stakeholders and should communicate progress, not the development team. B. Advise against additional reporting, as it introduces overhead and undermines the transparency provided by the sprint review and increment. C. Offer to help management design a lightweight, outcome-focused progress dashboard that pulls data directly from the Scrum team's tools. D. Coach the Scrum teams to proactively update external stakeholders through informal communication channels throughout the sprint. Answer: C. Offer to help management design a lightweight, outcome-focused progress dashboard that pulls data directly from the Scrum team's tools. The best advice the Scrum Master should give is to offer to help management design a lightweight, outcome-focused progress dashboard that pulls data directly from the Scrum team's tools. This approach addresses management's need for transparency without imposing burdensome, non-Scrum reporting. It leverages existing data and emphasizes outcomes over activity, aligning with Scrum's empirical principles. For example, a dashboard showing product-level burn-down or key performance indicators derived from delivered increments can be more valuable than a manual status report. Your role as a Scrum Master is to help the organization find agile-friendly ways to achieve their objectives. Question 21. A Scrum Master observes that the product owner frequently acts as a proxy for a demanding stakeholder, simply relaying their requests to the development team without adding much value or challenging assumptions. This leads to a product backlog that lacks strategic coherence. What is the most effective coaching technique for the Scrum Master to use with the product owner? A. Help the product owner understand the concept of a product vision and how to align product backlog items with it. B. Suggest the product owner involve the demanding stakeholder directly in refinement sessions with the development team. C. Coach the product owner on stakeholder management strategies, including how to say no or negotiate effectively. D. Advise the product owner to delegate product backlog item breakdown and clarification to the development team. Answer: C. Coach the product owner on stakeholder management strategies, including how to say no or negotiate effectively. The most effective coaching technique is to help the product owner develop robust stakeholder management strategies, particularly how to challenge assumptions, negotiate, and sometimes say no. The product owner is accountable for maximizing product value, which requires courage and skillful engagement with stakeholders, not just relaying requests. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them mature in this critical aspect of their role. For example, the Scrum Master might role-play challenging stakeholder conversations or introduce techniques for articulating opportunity costs. Empowering the product owner to confidently manage expectations is vital for a strategically coherent product backlog. Question 22. The development team has adopted a continuous delivery pipeline, but the organization's release process still involves manual handoffs and approvals, creating significant delays between done and actual deployment to production. This frustrates the team and slows down feedback loops. What is the most effective way for the Scrum Master to address this organizational impediment? A. Coach the development team on how to automate more of the manual handoffs within their control. B. Escalate the issue to senior leadership, providing data on the lead time from done to deployment and its impact on value. C. Work with the product owner to prioritize automation of the release process as high-value product backlog items. D. Facilitate cross-functional workshops with all involved departments, e.g., operations, compliance, to map the current process and identify bottlenecks. Answer: D. Facilitate cross-functional workshops with all involved departments, e.g., operations, compliance, to map the current process and identify bottlenecks. The most effective way for the Scrum Master to address a multi-departmental impediment like a slow release process is to facilitate cross-functional workshops. This approach brings together all key stakeholders and departments involved to collaboratively map the current process, identify bottlenecks, and collectively design improvements. The Scrum Master acts as a change agent, helping the organization understand and optimize its entire value stream, fostering transparency and shared ownership across functional silos. For example, value stream mapping can reveal significant waiting times and unnecessary approvals. Remember, systemic impediments require systemic solutions involving all affected parties. Question 23. A development team frequently struggles to break down large product backlog items, PBIs, into smaller, manageable pieces during refinement. This often leads to PBIs spilling over into multiple sprints or being poorly understood, impacting sprint goals. What is the best way for the Scrum Master to help the team? A. Encourage the product owner to prepare smaller, pre-refined PBIs for the team. B. Coach the development team on various PBI breakdown techniques, such as story slicing and horizontal slicing. C. Suggest the team dedicate a specific sprint to breaking down the largest PBIs. D. Facilitate a session where the entire Scrum team practices writing user stories and acceptance criteria. Answer: B. Coach the development team on various PBI breakdown techniques, such as story slicing and horizontal slicing. The best way for the Scrum Master to help the development team overcome their struggle with breaking down large PBIs is to coach them on specific PBI breakdown techniques. This empowers the team to independently manage the complexity of their work, which is a core aspect of self-management. The Scrum Master serves the team by providing tools and knowledge, allowing them to adapt their own refinement process. For instance, explaining the SPID, spike, paths, intercepts, decouple, rest, technique, or discussing how to slice user stories horizontally through architectural layers can be very effective. Your goal is to equip the team with the skills they need to excel. Question 24. During daily Scrum, the development team members report individual task progress to the Scrum Master, rather than collaborating and inspecting progress towards the sprint goal. This has become a routine, and the Scrum Master has observed this for several sprints. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? A. Redirect the team's focus during the daily Scrum to the sprint goal and the inspection of progress towards it. B. Implement a "no updates to the Scrum Master" rule during the daily Scrum to force team-to-team communication. C. Stop attending the daily Scrum to encourage the team to self-organize without the Scrum Master's presence. D. Conduct a specific workshop on the purpose and format of the daily Scrum, involving the entire Scrum team. Answer: D. Conduct a specific workshop on the purpose and format of the daily Scrum, involving the entire Scrum team. When the daily Scrum consistently deviates from its purpose, a specific workshop on its purpose and format involving the entire Scrum team is the most appropriate and impactful action. While simply redirecting is a good start, a dedicated workshop addresses the deeper misunderstanding or habit by providing education and a forum for the team to collectively recommit to the event's true intent. The Scrum Master serves as a coach and teacher, helping the team understand why the daily Scrum is structured as it is and how to use it effectively for inspecting progress toward the sprint goal. For example, discussing the 3 questions in relation to the sprint goal can shift the focus from individual tasks to team collaboration. Help your team internalize the value of each Scrum event. Question 25. The product owner expresses frustration that stakeholders are constantly changing their minds about what is most valuable, leading to significant churn in the product backlog and difficulty maintaining a stable product vision. What is the most effective way for the Scrum Master to help the product owner? A. Coach the product owner on advanced techniques for engaging stakeholders, such as building a stakeholder map and creating a communication plan. B. Suggest the product owner establish a no-change window in the product backlog after a certain point in refinement. C. Facilitate a meeting between the product owner, key stakeholders, and development team to enforce a more rigid product backlog process. D. Advise the product owner to focus on short-term value delivery and accept that the product backlog will always be volatile. Answer: A. Coach the product owner on advanced techniques for engaging stakeholders, such as building a stakeholder map and creating a communication plan. The most effective way for the Scrum Master to help the product owner with stakeholder volatility is to coach them on advanced stakeholder engagement techniques. This empowers the product owner to proactively manage expectations, understand stakeholder needs more deeply, and influence their input more effectively. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them develop the skills needed to navigate complex stakeholder landscapes and maintain a more stable product vision. For instance, a stakeholder map can help identify key influencers and their interests, allowing for tailored communication and collaboration strategies. Help the product owner become a master of stakeholder communication and management. Question 26. An organization has mandated that all Scrum teams must use a specific, highly prescriptive project management tool that imposes a waterfall-like workflow and detailed reporting requirements. This tool is stifling the Scrum team's agility and empirical process. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Coach the Scrum teams on how to adapt their Scrum process to fit within the constraints of the mandatory tool. B. Advocate for the Scrum teams to simply ignore the tool's prescriptive features and use it minimally for essential tracking. C. Work with organizational leadership and tool owners to demonstrate the mismatch and advocate for a more agile-friendly solution or configuration. D. Introduce a supplementary, agile-friendly tool for the Scrum teams to use internally, while still complying minimally with the mandated tool. Answer: C. Work with organizational leadership and tool owners to demonstrate the mismatch and advocate for a more agile-friendly solution or configuration. When a mandatory organizational tool actively undermines Scrum principles, the Scrum Master's role is to address this organizational impediment directly by engaging leadership and tool owners. Advocating for a more agile-friendly solution, backed by evidence of the current tool's negative impact on agility and value delivery, is crucial. The Scrum Master acts as a change agent, challenging systemic barriers that prevent the organization from fully embracing empiricism and self-management. For example, the Scrum Master could highlight how the tool's rigid reporting obscures real progress and stifles adaptation. Your responsibility extends to shaping the organizational environment to support Scrum. Question 27. The development team consistently creates technical debt, often making quick fixes rather than robust solutions to meet sprint goals. They claim there's no time to address it properly. This is now impacting future development and increasing the cost of change. What is the most effective strategy for the Scrum Master to employ? A. Add a recurring, technical debt item to the product backlog for the product owner to prioritize. B. Coach the development team on the long-term impact of technical debt and help them integrate quality practices into their definition of done. C. Suggest the team dedicate one sprint per quarter solely to refactoring and technical debt reduction. D. Mandate that the development team allocate a fixed percentage of each sprint to technical debt. Answer: B. Coach the development team on the long-term impact of technical debt and help them integrate quality practices into their definition of done. The most effective strategy is for the Scrum Master to coach the development team on the long-term impact of technical debt and guide them to integrate quality practices into their definition of done. This addresses the root cause by empowering the team to take ownership of their engineering standards and understand the costs associated with shortcuts. The Scrum Master serves the team by fostering a culture of continuous quality and helping them see that done means delivering a truly releasable, high-quality increment. For example, the team might add all code refactored or automated tests created to their definition of done. Encourage the team to build quality in from the start, rather than accruing debt. Question 28. During a sprint retrospective, the development team identifies a significant process improvement that would require a change to how they collaborate with a different, non-Scrum department. The team is unsure how to proceed and feels powerless to enact this change. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Advise the team to adapt their own process to minimize dependence on the external department. B. Coach the team on how to articulate their proposed change and its benefits to the external department's management. C. Take ownership of communicating the proposed change to the external department and negotiating its implementation. D. Facilitate a cross-departmental workshop to collaboratively explore the proposed improvement and its implications. Answer: D. Facilitate a cross-departmental workshop to collaboratively explore the proposed improvement and its implications. When a process improvement spans beyond the Scrum team to an external, non-Scrum department, the Scrum Master should facilitate a cross-departmental workshop. This approach directly tackles the organizational impediment by bringing together all affected parties to collaboratively understand the issue and explore solutions. The Scrum Master acts as a change agent and facilitator, bridging organizational silos to enable systemic improvements. For example, a workshop might use value stream mapping to show how the proposed change benefits the entire workflow, not just the Scrum team. Remember, complex organizational changes require broad involvement and shared ownership. Question 29. The product owner, despite coaching, continues to struggle with writing clear, concise, and testable product backlog items. This leads to frequent clarification interruptions for the development team during the sprint. What is the most advanced coaching technique the Scrum Master can employ? A. Pair the product owner with an experienced product owner from another team for mentoring. B. Recommend the product owner take an external course on user story writing and product backlog management. C. Introduce definition of ready criteria for product backlog items that must be met before sprint planning. D. Facilitate product backlog refinement as a service, where the development team helps the product owner write PBIs. Answer: A. Pair the product owner with an experienced product owner from another team for mentoring. When direct coaching on PBI clarity isn't sufficient, pairing the product owner with an experienced product owner for mentoring is a highly advanced and effective coaching technique. This provides hands-on, peer-to-peer learning and practical application in a real-world context, which can be more impactful than theoretical coaching or courses. The Scrum Master facilitates this connection, leveraging internal organizational expertise to build capability within the product owner role. For example, the mentor product owner might actively review and provide feedback on PBIs during refinement sessions. Sometimes, the best teacher is someone who has successfully walked the path. Question 30. During a sprint review, a key stakeholder openly criticizes the increment, stating it completely misses their needs and demands a significant pivot. The product owner and development team are surprised and demoralized by this feedback, as it contradicts earlier assumptions. What should the Scrum Master advise the Scrum team to do first? A. Encourage the Scrum team to defend their current increment by explaining the rationale behind their decisions. B. Facilitate a detailed conversation between the stakeholder and the product owner to understand the root cause of the misalignment. C. Advise the product owner to immediately incorporate the stakeholder's demands into the product backlog as top priority. D. Suggest that the development team refactor the increment based on the new feedback as soon as possible. Answer: B. Facilitate a detailed conversation between the stakeholder and the product owner to understand the root cause of the misalignment. The first and most crucial step is for the Scrum Master to facilitate a detailed conversation between the stakeholder and the product owner to understand the root cause of the misalignment. Precipitous action, like immediately incorporating demands or refactoring, without understanding the why, can lead to further issues. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them engage deeply with stakeholders to uncover underlying needs, assumptions, and potential communication gaps. For example, this conversation might reveal a critical piece of information that was never articulated or a misunderstanding of market conditions. Always seek to understand the underlying problem before jumping to solutions, especially with critical feedback. Question 31. The development team has adopted a rigorous definition of done, but struggles to consistently meet it for every product backlog item within a sprint. As a result, they frequently carry over unfinished work, or de-scope items, leading to a lack of predictability. The team feels overwhelmed by the definition of done. What is the most advanced action for the Scrum Master? A. Coach the development team on refining their product backlog items to be smaller and more manageable, increasing the likelihood of completion. B. Facilitate a retrospective where the team re-evaluates their definition of done to make it more realistic and achievable. C. Recommend hiring additional developers to increase the team's capacity to meet the existing definition of done. D. Work with the product owner to deliberately reduce the amount of work planned for the next few sprints. Answer: A. Coach the development team on refining their product backlog items to be smaller and more manageable, increasing the likelihood of completion. The most advanced action for the Scrum Master is to coach the development team on refining their product backlog items to be smaller and more manageable. While the definition of done is crucial, If the team consistently struggles to meet it, the problem often lies in the size and complexity of the work items they choose to undertake within a sprint. The Scrum Master serves the team by helping them adapt their approach to work breakdown, making it easier to achieve done for each item. For example, coaching on effective story slicing techniques allows the team to deliver smaller, valuable increments more frequently. Your aim is to help the team achieve sustainable excellence by making work truly sprintable. Question 32. An organization is transitioning to Scrum, and managers are struggling to adapt their traditional command and control leadership style. They frequently interrupt development teams, assign tasks directly to individuals, and demand detailed progress reports. What is the most effective long-term strategy for the Scrum Master to address this? A. Provide regular training sessions for managers on the principles of servant leadership and self-managing teams. B. Work with individual managers to help them understand the Scrum Master's role and boundaries, and the value of team autonomy. C. Escalate specific instances of managerial interference to human resources for policy enforcement. D. Organize a cross-functional workshop for managers to redesign their role descriptions and responsibilities in an agile context. Answer: D. Organize a cross-functional workshop for managers to redesign their role descriptions and responsibilities in an agile context. The most effective long-term strategy is to organize a cross-functional workshop for managers to collectively redesign their role descriptions and responsibilities in an agile context. This addresses the systemic issue of managerial misalignment with Scrum principles by engaging managers directly in shaping their new roles. The Scrum Master acts as a change agent, facilitating the organizational shift towards agile leadership by empowering managers to define their contribution within a Scrum environment. For example, they might redefine success metrics away from individual output and towards enabling team success. Your goal is to help the organization adapt its entire culture to support agility, not just its teams. Question 33. The development team consistently finishes sprints, but the increment often requires significant additional integration and testing work by external teams before it can be released to users. This hardening phase takes several weeks, negating the benefits of short sprints and rapid feedback. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Coach the development team to expand their definition of done to include all necessary integration and testing, even if it initially slows them down. B. Work with the product owner to create a separate, hardening sprint, once per quarter to consolidate and release all integrated work. C. Advocate for the formation of a cross-functional Scrum team that includes members from the external integration and testing teams. D. Escalate the issue to management, emphasizing the long lead time to market and missed opportunities for early feedback. Answer: A. Coach the development team to expand their definition of done to include all necessary integration and testing, even if it initially slows them down. When an increment requires significant post-sprint work by external teams, the Scrum Master must coach the development team to expand their definition of done to encompass all necessary integration and testing. The fundamental principle of Scrum is to produce a done increment that is truly usable and potentially releasable every sprint. While this might initially slow the team, it brings transparency to the actual effort and dependencies, forcing the team and organization to address them. For example, the team might need to invest in automation or acquire new skills to meet this more rigorous definition of done. The definition of done is a commitment for the Scrum team to create a usable increment. Question 34. A Scrum Master notices that the sprint retrospectives are becoming stagnant, with the same issues being discussed repeatedly and no new, impactful improvements emerging. The development team seems disengaged during the event. What is the most effective technique for the Scrum Master to re-energize the retrospective? A. Cancel the retrospective for a few sprints to allow the team to focus on development work, and then reintroduce it. B. Introduce new retrospective facilitation techniques and invite a guest facilitator to bring a fresh perspective. C. Coach the development team on their accountability to continuously improve and challenge them to identify bolder experiments. D. Focus the retrospective on external factors that hinder progress, shifting away from internal team dynamics. Answer: B. Introduce new retrospective facilitation techniques and invite a guest facilitator to bring a fresh perspective. When sprint retrospectives become stagnant, the most effective technique for the Scrum Master to re-energize them is to introduce new facilitation techniques and consider inviting a guest facilitator. This brings novelty, breaks routine, and can spark fresh ideas and engagement from the development team. The Scrum Master serves the team by continuously seeking ways to improve Scrum's effectiveness, and injecting new energy into an event is a direct way to do this. For example, trying a lean coffee or sailboat retrospective instead of the standard "what went well, what could be improved" format can yield different insights. Always be ready to experiment with the approach to keep your events dynamic and productive. Question 35. The product owner consistently struggles to articulate a clear product goal, often shifting focus between sprints based on the loudest stakeholders' input. This leads to a product backlog that lacks a coherent direction and a development team that feels unfocused. What is the most important action for the Scrum Master to take? A. Work with the product owner to create a long-term roadmap that details all anticipated features for the next year. B. Coach the product owner on the concept of the product goal and its role as a commitment to focus the Scrum team's efforts. C. Facilitate a product vision workshop with the product owner and key stakeholders to define a stable, overarching purpose. D. Suggest that the development team ignore the shifting priorities and focus on technical excellence to build a robust product foundation. Answer: B. Coach the product owner on the concept of the product goal and its role as a commitment to focus the Scrum team's efforts. The most important action for the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner specifically on the concept of the product goal and its crucial role as a commitment to focus the Scrum team's efforts. The product goal is a critical artifact introduced in the Scrum Guide to provide long-term direction and transparency for the product, preventing the very problem of shifting priorities. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them truly understand and embody this accountability. For instance, explaining how a clear product goal helps filter stakeholder requests and provides a stable North Star for the product backlog can be very impactful. Always guide the product owner to master the commitments of Scrum.